They had to walk 300 miles in the snow to get to the railway station. And then they got on the railway station and they started moving south and eventually got to Iran.
Iran? That's a fair trek. Where did they end up? Tehran?
They walked as far, and they went over the frontier at Persia, and there the women were put in one camp and the men in the other. And her father used to visit them every day. And then one day he didn't turn up, and other man turned up and said that her father had died because he'd eaten something poisonous.
What, the little lady who's just been her father?
Yes, that was her father. So
and he died in Iran?
It's got me back, mate.
Of course, Charlie Reynolds.
Iran?
His body is still in Iran.
Oh, Persia.
So he was buried in Iran, Denise?
Well, yes, of course.
Diane, sorry. No.
What was going on.
So how did she end up making her way back to Western Europe?
Well, the thing is that they walked through Afghanistan. She and her mother walked through Afghanistan into India.
Really?
And that was, of course, India was part of
it was split up then, wasn't it? Yeah. Before Bangladesh and all that separated,
right.
didn't it?
But when you go over, you get into what is it? Not the Indians, the other one. What are they? The
Pakistan.
The Pakistani.
Western Pakistan, yeah.
And the thing is that she was there, and then our empire came to an end.
Ah, of course, yeah.
Yes. So our empire came to an end, and the English discovered that there were there was a young Polish girl or teenager, and there was a mother there that were Polish. What were they doing there? Oh. And they said, well, they come out of Russia and they got here, and they put them on a boat to go back to England.
So they went all the way from Pakistan to England, because that was part of the empire. Yeah,
well, because they realised that they weren't Indian, so why should they stay there? You know.
So how?
Look, the English have always been very, very thankful to the Polish people.
Yeah, very much so.
Because they did a lot in the war. A lot of Poles died for us. This is what they forget. So look, now they say, look, why do all these young people come here to work? They've all gone home now. But people don't realise what the Poles have done for us. And we had promised to help them. If Hitler walked in, we were going to help them. We never did. We let them down.
And then we let Stalin in then at the end.
They were in the Air Force and they fought for us.
Diane, and then we let Stalin in to take the other half at the end. There was a line of demarcation right through the middle of Poland, like you say, which became...
So, you see, there's more to history. You have to
and she was in the east, wasn't she?
I think that they did us a lot of good, and that's why the Poles were accepted after the war here.
Were the Russians bad on their side, though, to the other side?
They couldn't go back because Poland was under Russia, wasn't it? Yeah. Russia had taken that bit. Churchill tried to stop them doing all that, but we couldn't. And so the Poles that were here didn't want to go back. Well, you wouldn't want to go back, would you?
Of course not.
Yeah. You see, the Germans in Eastern Germany that came under Russia, they didn't want to go back there either. They stayed in the West. And many of them lost all their property and everything, but they weren't going to go back. So you see, most people don't know what has happened to. People have been, moved around. You were living here, now you're living there. What was Eastern Poland became Russia.
It did indeed, yeah.
And what was the Western German Empire became Poland. Yes. So that bit was Polish, but the people living there were still the Poles. They became Russian.
After the war, though.
The people living in the German one, they turned out all the Germans, and they didn't want them there, so they all had to come into Germany. And there were people walking around all over Europe walking for days and days and sleeping in camps and walking till they got somewhere. And one man, his wife was, he was one of my, I was teaching him English, and he was one of my pupils, but he said that he came from Eastern Germany and he didn't want to go back. He wondered where his wife was, because of course she was there in the East, and he said, I couldn't find my wife, didn't know where she was. Wow. And then he was in Munich, because this is where I was living then, and he was living then. But he said one day I was walking along the street in Munich and a lorry went past. And there were a lot of people sitting in an open lorry, you know, because in those days it was very primitive still. It was just after the war. And he suddenly saw his wife on the lorry, and he shouted, and they stopped the lorry, she got off, and he found his wife. She was in the lorry.
How incredible are that? How
see,
incredible are that?
This story, and then they didn't have much money, so he used to go into the houses which were all destroyed, and go and find the bathrooms, and he used to knock out the things off the walls, so that his wife could paint them,
yes,
and sell them.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Little business.
And so that's how they started off. But you see, it was only a fluke that his wife passed and he found her.
yeah.
Many people probably never did find their relations.
You know the little Polish lady who was here then, how long has she been in England for, Diane?
Since that time.
So it's a good few years.
Yes, she was brought back when our empire stopped.
Yeah.
And brought back here. Then she's been here since then.
She's been settled here then, hasn't she? Because
since we lost our
she's
empire.
got a strong Polish accent still.
What's that?
She's got a strong Polish accent still, hasn't she? You can tell keeps a
Polish
Polish tone, you know, Polish
Well,
accent.
yes, I mean,
You think that voice is slightly broken?
No, she sounds Polish, I think.
But it's the accent sounds there.
No,
Very
but you
well.
see, you never lose your accent.
No.
Only if you're going to pick up a correct accent in a foreign language.
She's been through a lot, hasn't she,
you have to
Charlie?
learn it
You know what I mean, mate?
It makes you realise how lucky we are.
Very true.
Yeah.
If
It's like
you
I
can
don't
learn
mind.
a language before
I
you're
don't mind
40,
having to pay
you can speak
£8 a
English
month towards my
perfectly, and
council
you
tax
speak your
bill,
own
you know.
language perfectly.
Good point.
All they have to pay, you know.
It's all part of the game of life, isn't it, Charlie?
Accent's over.
Yeah,
you know.
nice.
It seems silly getting
I
one look
can't-
about £8
I
a month.
speak
Very true.
nearly
But I don't have to
perfect
pay
German
extra
and
bedroom
nearly
tax,
perfect
though, you know.
French and
That's
Spanish.
another
They're
bugbear.
not quite sure where I belong. They don't put me down as English. But if I'm talking German, they think I'm from Dutch.
You're not Dutch,
If I'm talking French, they think I'm Spanish.
you're a Channel Islander, aren't you, Diane? Guernsey.
But so the thing is that they don't know where I belong, you know.
Originally from
Because
Germany.
I have picked up the languages as much as.
Diane, were
all
you
the
born in
people.
Guernsey or Germany?
I come from Sark.
Oh, you were born in Sark, yeah, the little island with the bridge.
It's 3 miles by 1.5.
Yeah. That's incredible, man. It's
But I was in Guernsey during the war.
Yeah.
Under the Germans.
what was the population of Sark then?
When I was born, 300.
That's not a bad shout, that then.
Now
You don't
there's
meet
600.
you don't meet many people from Sark then, do you? You know, who were British, who were Sark.
Yeah, well, 300 when I was.
Yeah.
Now there's 600. It's very small after all.
It's incredible, really. Incredible. That was most interesting that day, I know. You see, you'd never think that little Polish lady that she'd been through so much.
I told you a bit of her story because I know much more of it, but it's amazing. It's amazing. Just think of these walking for 300 miles in the snow, and one day she was walking along in the snow, and you know when it's deep snow, it's very hard walking.
Yes.
And she said to her father, she said, "Father, I can't go anymore. I'm going to stay."
Ah, she looks a frail little mite.
Shouted at her, and he said,
I never sent it in, it didn't matter anyway.
"Come on, get up, walk." And you made her walk.
She's tough and yeah.
Give our opinion. We gave our opinion. We were all come to it. It was a waste of time. It was all in vain.
And
It's usually the way. Yeah, 6 every
And,
go up, isn't it? And you wouldn't have to...
She wouldn't have been alive if she's
It's just a matter of survival, wasn't it?
No, she wouldn't. She would have frozen.
So were they escaping? They were escaping the communist regime, weren't they? They were trying to get away from the communists by going to it.
Her father and mother
He said to me,
were
at the
working
church, I
as
said,
slave labourers.
Right.
In fact, they were taken to Poland.
3 o'clock he goes there, yeah.
Well, I missed
2
him, I
days
come
by
by
the
about
train
10 to
and
4.
2 days by the boat to work in this place.
Was it Siberia they went then? Siberia.
And that was why she had to walk back. It's because
Got Paul with him.
there are no
When I
trains
leave
there,
there tonight,
so she
I have
had
to
to
walk
walk.
towards Tesco's.
So they went from Siberia all the way to Iran to escape. Yeah. To Iran.
To Iran.
Yeah.
They walked. No, they didn't walk all the way. They walked as far as there was a train. And when
The
they were
Trans-Siberian Railroad was going, wasn't it? That was the one that they were all
I
building.
did probably other trains as well.
That was
Anyway,
famous.
They found a train.
Yeah.
I used the sable one in Tesco.
And,
I prefer it's green.
The thing
Well, I
is that
reckon
they
I would
got on
walk
the
in
train,
there. Is that
and
what I'm going to
then
do?
Lucy and her sister got
I don't
got
mind,
an illness.
Right.
I don't
And
mind if
the
it's a bit
father
marked
had
up.
to
but
leave
it's
them in the
all
hospital
familiar.
and said to this woman, when they are all right, will you put them on a train to come south?
Yeah.
So they had to leave them behind because mother and father went on.
Right.
Anything like it, I'm surprised at them.
And when they were better, this woman who put them on the train,
Lads, keep your voices down a bit or it'll be over again. Lads,
they put them
John,
on,
keep your voice down a
they
bit.
put them on the train. And the thing is that then they got off at some place and they were looking to see if they could find their father there. No, they didn't. So they got on another train and they went a bit further south. And then they got off the train and they said to anybody, had they seen these people with this name? So they gave their name, you know.
Yeah.
And someone said, yes, there's a woman with that name up the road.
Really?
So they went up the road and there was a little house and they went to the back and there was mother.
Oh, Lucy.
Right.
Found her,
What a coincidence.
which was amazing. And then their father had gone back to go to get them from where he left them. And so they had to wait for him to turn back again because he would have met the woman that put them on the train. So then he had to come back. And so then they walked further and they got into, or they got the train to Iraq.
To Iran. Iran.
Iran.
Yeah.
Not Iraq, Iran.
Where the hostages were
which was
in the
Persia then.
early 80s, yeah.
And then when they crossed the border, the women were put in one camp and the men were put in another, so the father wasn't with them. But he used to visit every day. Then
Yeah.
he didn't turn up one day. And a man turned up and said, I'm sorry, but your father died. He died of poisoning.
So I told
He
her
had opened a tin of something from America, one of these parcels, they say.
Yeah, food parcels.
And the meat was poisonous, it had gone off, and he died. So his body is still in Iran.
In Iran, as you said earlier, yeah.
And that's what, then they mother and one daughter continued to
Afghanistan, into
the other,
Pakistan.
The other one went to Israel.
And then they got to Pakistan and then they were sent to England.
They went there, and then they were there for a year or so because after the war, we didn't lose our empire straight away.
No.
So they were there until the end of empire.
And then as the empire ended, they shipped them to here.
Put them on a ship and
They shipped
they
them here,
came to
yeah.
England.
As did a lot of the people with British passports.
It's a fantastic story. It would make a wonderful book.
Indeed. Indeed. There's a lot of that transmigration going on, wasn't there, in Eastern,
You see,
after the war, in Eastern Europe?
people went long distances.
yeah.
It's amazing.
I remember covering that in history when I was a kid, about how they used to mass movements, exoduses of people escaping different regimes or being forced to go to forced labour.
I told you the story because she probably wouldn't want me to.
No.
But it is a wonderful story.
She's an interesting little character. There's more to her than meets the eye, isn't there, Diane?
I mean, she looks very strange. And look, I think that she's been anorexic all her life.
Right.
Because she couldn't eat very much when she was in
No.
India. And she's still as thin as a...
She's a frail little mite, isn't she? She had a bit of chocolate off me earlier.
Yes, but she eats very, very little.
No.
She doesn't eat enough.
How interesting is that, though, Johnny? Eh? That she's been all over all those places that you just wouldn't dream of.
That's what you call having a life.
Yeah.
But she's got. She knows people from all over the world. The Poles, they're all over the place.
She's very much a people person. She likes to be around people, doesn't she?
She's got relations in Africa and in Australia.
There's like a Polish diaspora. There's a diaspora of Poles everywhere, isn't there?
Everywhere.
Like the Jewish diaspora and the Irish
They
diaspora.
all come and visit her here.
Yeah.
When they turn up in England.
How marvellous. How marvellous. At least the families keep together, you know. A lot of families now here were so detached and isolated.
She married two Poles. She married an older man, and she told me why she married the older man she was, I think, 19 and he was in his 40s. She was looking for her father. She said she missed her father so much. And she always missed her father.
So she was using him as a...
Because he suddenly died.
He was like a surrogate father, a husband, in other words.
She was only a teenager and suddenly...
Yeah.
He died of poisoning.
I understand, Diane.
Yeah. And so she said, I married an older man because I wanted protection like a father.
Security and protection, yeah.
The second man, she was more or less her own age.
And how did that one go?
Well, that one, he got a bit strange, and he put her in a psychiatric hospital.
No.
Yes, and she was given this damn treatment, you know, that they give you to put you right, which there was nothing wrong with her.
The electric treatment?
Yes.
For depression.
When she came out, he said after a short time, he said he was going to put her in there again.
No.
She ran away to London. She left her daughter here because the daughter was studying.
Oh, she had a daughter?
Oh, yes, she's still got a daughter. She
fabulous.
She visits her on Sundays.
Where is her daughter?
She's in, not in, where is it? The 73, the 76 bus goes there.
Colville or somewhere
That's
like that?
right, she's in Colville.
Colville.
Yeah. And she's there now. She was somewhere else, but now she's there and her grandson lives with her here while he's in university.
Oh, so she's got grandchildren here and everything, yeah?
She's got a grandson, yes.
Yeah. Oh,
and she's got a granddaughter. And anyway, the thing is, she had two daughters, but her first daughter died when she was in her 40s.
And what happened to her husband, the one who put her in the psychiatric care?
What, the second one?
Yeah, the second husband.
The first one died because he was older.
Yeah, the second one, then what happened to him?
The second one went demented.
He went demented as well?
When he got demented, she came back from London and looked after him.
God, yeah, ah. Oh.
And then he went in Woodhouse. He was put there, and then he died.
So he's passed away, yeah. He went in the old people's place in Woodhouse Eaves, yeah.
Because she was married to him, she gets his pension. You know?
And he was Polish, her partner.
He was Polish.
Was he a university worker?
I don't know what he was.
No.
But he got. Anyway, she gets his pension.
Right, so she's all right then on that front as well.
Because she went to London, and she mostly worked for Indians. There are a lot of rich Indians in North London.
Yeah.
And she was working for them. They used to have big parties and all kind of things.
All right, Johnny, all right.
Thanks for your conversation. I'll be pleased to talk to you again.
What's that?
Thanks for your conversation. I'll be pleased to talk to you again. I'm just going over there.
Yeah, okay.
See you in a bit now.
So she was like in service kind of for the Indian people, was she?
Yes, most of her life, you see, she didn't, because she went to Russia when she was a teenager, she didn't finish her schooling, did she?
No.
So she was always a cleaner.
No.
She was always a good cleaner.
I bet she, yeah. Bet she was a hard worker.
But she used to be helping all over the place. She liked doing that because she liked seeing all these different people.
Yeah, she's a people person, I know that.
Yes.
That's why she likes to come to the library and stuff to mix with people.
And she when she
like
works,
we all do.
She works very well, you know, what she was doing. But of course she doesn't work now, but I mean, you know.
No.
But she ran away and she found this job with the Indians, and that they found that she was a good worker and they always looked after her.
Fabulous, yeah. Fabulous.
And then when she heard that her husband was like that, she came and looked after him.
Fabulous. Yeah.
But she didn't stay there the whole day. She used to sort of leave him there, and then she had to come and look after him in the evening when she was doing things. 'Cause she went on doing a cleaner. A lot of people know her as a cleaner here. She used to clean in pubs.
Did she? Yeah.
You find a lot of money in pubs. She was always finding £20 on the floor. And
Yeah. Well, you would, yeah. Thinking about it. Yeah.
And do you know what she found? It was about a couple of weeks. No, it was about a month ago. She was walking down Market Street, and she saw some paper in front of the 99p shop. You know, there's a pound shop.
Yeah, there is. There's 2. Yeah.
That's the bottom. That's the.
Yeah. Another one, the newer one.
Yeah, the new one. Yeah. So she saw this paper there, and she thought she'd go and have a look and see what all this paper was down there. So anyway, she picked it all up. And do you know what it was?
Don't know.
£100 note.
£100 note.
It was £100 in notes.
Oh, £100 in notes.
And she took it.
So it's like tenors, like 10 tenors.
10s or 20s.
Yeah.
But it was £100. And she took it to the police station, and they said, well, you can take it because they can't trace it.
No.
It's not in anything or anything. They can't trace it, can they?
No.
And she said, no, I want to leave it here. So she said, I'll come back in a month.
How
so
honest.
she went back in the month. Of course, they haven't found who it belonged to. And so she said she was going to give it to charity or do something.
How honest is she like that?
But she's always finding things like
Yeah.
that. You see, I wouldn't see it probably because I usually try to walk like this, you see. But
Yeah.
Lucy is always walking like this.
She does.
So of course you see.
Yeah. She does. So she's got the stoop neck. Because I was always said if a kid when I found money, just to, that it was lucky and don't always keep looking because you'll end up with a stoop.
But it's amazing because she's often told me before, I found a £20 note and I said, actually, since we've got the new cleaners, because we used to have another firm that used to clean the streets, didn't we? When they were there, she often found £20 notes, and I used to find odd pound coins on the street. But I don't find them anymore since there's these new ones, because they start about 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
As the students have finished, they probably drop money
Yeah.
because they're getting drunk, aren't they?
Indeed, yeah.
And then they come and clean. So actually the cleaners are probably picking them up.
Yeah, it amazes how much money is left around by people. Because
You see, they didn't used to clean at that.
No. But that was very interesting, that, Diane, the whole, what you've told me. Thank you very much for that.